From insane stories of UFOs to people who disappeared without a trace. Stay tuned to number 1 to find out the craziest stories of people that have claimed they traveled through time. Number 10. John Titter. This story began surfacing in 1998. Many found awe in this tale, but the story has been questioned. John Titter claims he is from the year 2036 and that he has been selected to travel back to 1975 to obtain an IBM 5100, which would help future scientists in decoding a computer program. He gave no solid reason for stopping over in the year 2000 other than they were personal. He says he's an American soldier and that the Army had chosen him because of his historical knowledge. Apparently, his grandfather had been one of the people who had worked on the very computer needed. Even though 2036 isn't necessarily far away in time, he claims things have changed. In the year 2001, he said that a civil war, followed by World War III, would break out. The Civil War would be long, ending in 2015 with a brief but intense World War III. That catastrophe would lead to the destruction of the global environment and infrastructure. Following the war, the US would be divided into 5 general areas based on their economic and defensive strengths. Obviously, since it's now 2018 and none of this has happened, I guess his claims were false. Also, Titter did claim some other things that would take place, like the invention of the time machine in 2034. So, I guess we'll just have to wait and see on that one. Number 9. Alexander Smith. Our next supposed time traveler claims he came from a much farther year. Alexander Smith says that he went to the year 2118, exactly a century from now. Alexander explained some details about the future, but he failed to explain how he got there. Alexander claims to have just woken up in a hospital bed. He said things like everyone was wearing white, but he also told us about some shocking information. Alexander revealed that humans appeared to be having relationships with robots. There are also flying cars in 2018, which sounds quite a bit like the cliché future we're all expecting. The only proof he claims to have is a picture of 2118, which sounded like the perfect piece of proof. But many are still unconvinced, since the picture has buildings and flying cars, but it's very blurry. So blurry in fact that you can barely even tell what was in the picture. Well, he has a great explanation for that. Time travel distorted the photo. So unfortunately for him, he pretty much ended up with no proof. He did tell some predictable stories like global warming and rising sea levels being a threat to mankind. And when he asked why he never played the lottery, he said that it would end the human race by causing a paradox. Number 8. William Taylor. If you think a century is a long time from now, then this next man will shock you even more. William Taylor says that he traveled all the way to the year 8973 and back. He also traveled to several other years such as the year 3000. But before we talk about William's adventures, take an adventure of your own. Like this video and subscribe to our channel using the buttons below. While you're there, don't forget to click that little notification bell too, so you can always stay up to date with new videos from Zero to Hero. Taylor says that scientists have already developed a machine to not only travel through time, but also to move between parallel universes. He then tried to explain the Mandela effect and why it happens. Quoting Taylor, each moment we experience belongs to a different universe, and we travel through them in order to form a timeline. The Mandela effect is caused by governments around the world messing with time travel and moving some people from one universe to another. These machines are highly classified, and he was only capable of using it due to working in the British government. Taylor said that he saw many changes in the world, such as no more disease and world peace. This is mostly due to the fact that robots will have merged with humans, stating that he saw humans that were half robot and half human. Taylor's story seems quite entertaining, but he offers some warning. There are many advanced technologies being kept secret from you, quotes Taylor. The whole tale sounds rather absurd, so I'm not sure if we should be cautious of the government or more cautious of William Taylor. Number 7. James Oliver. Next up on our list is a man who didn't travel from 2018, but instead traveled to 2018. James Oliver says he is from the year 6491, but not only is he from the future, he says he's from another galaxy. Oliver said his ship is fried, so he is stuck here. The fact that I'm stuck here is a bit of a bummer, he stated, and he's quite concerned that he will be stuck here permanently. Technically speaking, Oliver would be considered an alien if he really is from another galaxy, but he doesn't look like a figure that just stepped off of a sci-fi movie. he looks exactly like a human. When asked where his time machine is, Mr. Oliver responds, "I can't tell you that." Seems like supposed time travelers are pros at excuses. Oliver did begin to talk about stuff that the future would have, and gives a common warning about global warming and how the Earth is heating up extensively. He also talks about how we will all have artificial intelligence systems in our home in the future. I don't know exactly how groundbreaking that is though, right Alexa? The government structure of the future is also different, as the world has been taken over by a United Nations-style organization. He also stated that there are a lot of planets with beings more intelligent than humans. James tells us of how he misses his friends and how he would like to go back home. And after this odd story, we would like for him to go back to wherever it was he came from too. Number 6. Sergey Ponomarenko. Our next case is also a man who claims he isn't from 2018, but this time he claims he's from the past. Sergey Ponomarenko was a man lost in Kiev, Ukraine in 2006. Sergey was dressed in an old-style attire with a vintage camera in his hand. He was wandering aimlessly when he was approached by police who questioned him. Ponomarenko showed them an ID from the Soviet Union which appeared to be about 50 years old. The man said he was born in the city of Kiev on June 16, 1932. Now, this may sound like a case of a nostalgic 70-year-old man who was simply reminiscing in his old attire, but at first glance, Ponomarenko appeared to only be around 25 years old. Police explained to him that there was no way he could be so young, since it was currently the year 2006. Ponomarenko explained that he had left his house to take some photos when he saw a UFO, and after photographing it, he suddenly found himself in the future. The police began to investigate his camera but found that the roll of film had stopped being made in 1970. After talking with a doctor, Ponomarenko returned to his hotel room. Immediately after that, Sergey disappeared. The hotel had very tight security and video cameras, so no one knows how he could have escaped or where he went. It was later proved that a man by the same name existed in the Soviet period and was reported to have disappeared in 1960. To this day, no one knows what happened to Sergey Ponomarenko. Spooky. Number 5. Air Marshal Sir Robert Victor Goddard. Our next person claims to have seen a piece of a moment of the future. Sir Robert Victor Goddard was a senior commander during the Second World War, and he claims to have seen a glimpse of the future. Sir Robert was a respectable man who had an honorable past in the military. Many questioned his story, which seemed to show some truth. He was flying over an unused Air Force base in the village of Jourdain. Later that day, he ran into trouble while flying his biplane in heavy rain and decided to fly back to Jourdain to get his bearings. The rain was thick, but all of a sudden the sky was filled with sunshine. When looking down, he noticed that the same airfield was now in use after renovation. Goddard says that there were yellow planes and men in overalls. What's crazy though is that a few years later, his vision proved true. The base at Jourdain was eventually resurfaced just 4 years later. The airplanes were yellow and the men's uniforms were blue. Perhaps it was actually a glimpse or just simply a coincidence. Number 4. Brielle Hunter. The next person has an intriguing tale with a strange ending. Brielle Hunter was a professor who was fascinated by poetry. In particular, she loved the work of a poet named Clorinda, who wrote in the 17th century. Clorinda was born in Peru, so Hunter embarked to Peru to search for more poems. She took her friend Ramona Hedges with her. While in Peru, the girls decided to visit the mysterious stone forest of Marcohuasi when they saw a strange cabin. She states that she was able to see people dancing inside, but upon getting closer, she felt a sudden sensation of cold. She then finishes off her story by saying, "It was then that I saw the occupants were clad in 17th century fashion. I tried to enter the room, but one of my girlfriends pulled me out. All of a sudden, she became paralyzed in half, precisely as she was drawn out of the stone cabin. Only the part of her body that entered the cabin was left paralyzed though." Afterwards, Hunter said that she was hemiplegic. Doctors found it rather odd that there were no areas on her brain showing bleeding vessels nor any traumatic lesions. And no medical tests were able to ascertain the cause of her paralysis. Many think that the time paradox was just too much for her body to handle. So, what would have happened if she would have entered all the way? Number 3. Mikko Lemke. Mrs. Mikko Lemke was traveling to her hometown of Riverside in California. She was traveling alone during a rainy evening, and when arriving in the town, she noticed that things looked much different. This wasn't simply a difference that could have happened while she was away though, as everything looked much darker and sinister. Mikko Lemke said that none of the houses looked familiar. Her old house and the cemetery where her grandparents are buried looked very different. The graves weren't even there. It was just empty grass surrounded by a fence. She said that she was going to stop and ask some pedestrians for some help, but everyone looked dull and creepy, so she quickly backed out and left the town. A couple of years later, her father passed away, so she went back to visit Riverside. This time though, to her amazement, everything looked normal again, like the childhood home she remembered. Mikko Lemke says that she correctly followed the map into the right town. The story she told was very odd, but perhaps it was her town. Maybe from the future, the past, or a different dimension. Or maybe she was just lost. Her claim does sound like a great movie script though. Any takers? Number 2. Charlotte Moberly and Elinor Jourdain. Charlotte Moberly and Elinor Jourdain were two very educated women in 1901. The two women wanted to visit the grounds of the ill-fated Queen Marie Antoinette at Versailles. The women traveled to Versailles to explore, but they got more than they bargained for. They found that they were lost after taking a couple of wrong turns, and all of a sudden, things looked different. The place no longer looked familiar to them. They said they saw people in old attire which almost seemed frozen in time. Besides the visual changes, Moberly and Jourdain both reported that they felt a sudden heavy dreariness. They also saw a figure of a strange woman. Moberly gave a detailed description of the woman wearing a light summer dress, a white hat, and long hair. And they claimed that the lady was Marie Antoinette. The two claimed that they went back 150 years in time to the 18th century. The two women were known to be trustworthy, so many were drawn to believe them, but still, most people are skeptical and think that their eyes just play tricks on them. Truth be told, someone in a summer dress wearing a white hat could be any woman. Strange how their first assumption would be the dead queen. Number 1. Andrew Carlson. The last man on this list was arrested when he told his story. Andrew Carlson was involved in money investments that were considered suspect, and he was taken into custody. Instead of just denying the illegal work though, Carlson told them that he was a time traveler. Carlson said that he traveled 200 years into the future, so he knew the outcomes of the investments. He said that he had so much faith in his high-risk investments that had led to the odd money trades. Carlson was able to make tons of cash from the trade though, and that seemed very strange to many, maybe even illegal. The spokesman said he's either a lunatic or a pathological liar. No one even considered the prospect that he was telling the truth. After a while, Carlson offered to tell authorities the whereabouts of Osama bin Laden and a cure for AIDS to show proof as a part of a plea bargain. No one knows if he ever did tell though. Another strange thing is that the FBI could find no records of Carlson's existence before December 2002, which was merely 3 months before they picked him up. He was later bailed out by a friend and was never seen or heard from again. To this day, no one knows where he came from or where he went. Do you think time travel is possible? Let us know in the comments below and take care.